For 8 months, I've been enduring the truth. 8 months filled with shared meals where I feigned happiness next to the man entwined with my wife. 8 months of him addressing me as brother while plotting a future alongside the woman who wore my ring. 8 months of witnessing my wife, Caroline, share laughter with him, her hand occasionally hidden beneath the table, the most agonizing aspect. He genuinely viewed me as his brother, let me clarify. I am Owen Hartley, and until last March, I believed I had everything under control. A 15-year marriage to my college sweetheart, a fulfilling life in suburban Connecticut, and a stable career as an aerospace engineer. We'd never been able to conceive children despite our attempts, but we'd constructed a life around one another, or so I had thought. The disintegration began with a call I was not meant to overhear. I returned home early from a conference in Denver because my connecting flight was canceled, so I boarded an earlier one. I stepped into our home past 2 in the afternoon, finding Caroline on the back porch through the unopened screen door. She didn't suspect anything. You needn't fret, Gavin. She chuckled, a private laugh I once believed belonged only to me. We've taken precautions. Even if he discovered our affair, he'd never guess the rest. Owen is too trusting. It's his downfall. I remained motionless in my entranceway, luggage still in tow. She continued, the policy is almost ready to mature. Another year and we'll be secure, then we can act openly. You'll receive your inheritance, I mine, and Owen's will fade into oblivion. I retreated quietly, drove to a coffee shop 3 miles distant, and sat in my vehicle for 2 hours, trying to make sense of what I'd overheard Gavin. The name echoed in my mind, clear as day who she was referring to. Gavin Mercer had become part of my life 6 years past at a company barbecue. In the firm, he was a novice, stationed in administration while I worked engineering. We hit it off swiftly, discovering mutual passions for classic motorcycles, craft beer, and baseball. Within months, we became the best of friends, with him joining us for dinner at our home weekly. Caroline appeared joyful when hosting him. Our friendship had blossomed about 2 years prior after I introduced them. Gavin had once mentioned that I was like the brother he never had, a sentiment expressed one night after numerous IPAs on my deck. This remark moved me deeply. My brother had perished in a car accident when I was 19, leaving an emptiness that never truly mended. Having Gavin fill part of that void felt like a blessing, yet it began to seem more like calculated manipulation. I chose not to address the issue directly, not at this moment. That's not my nature. I am an engineer. I tackle problems systematically. I gather facts. I design solutions, the first step being to decipher the policy's meaning and the inheritance Caroline mentioned. That evening, I spent hours in my car accessing our financial accounts through my phone. Discovering it within an hour, a life insurance policy worth $2 million with my name on it. 5 years prior, I signed the necessary documents upon Caroline's suggestion, stating our financial advisor had recommended it for estate planning purposes. My focus on a product launch at that time left me with minimal scrutiny of the documents, listing Caroline as the primary beneficiary. However, there was an overlooked clause. Should she predecease me or we divorce, the backup beneficiary would be family trust, under a separate agreement of which I had no knowledge. The second revelation surfaced through property records. When searching for her maiden name on a dummy account, I found that she'd purchased a condo in Stamford 3 months ago, a cash transaction totaling $230,000, an amount not present in our joint accounts, implying undisclosed finances. Diving further into financial records that night, I was grateful for the convenience of cloud storage and lax password management, uncovering evidence of this hidden money trail. In the same vein of events, Caroline employed our wedding date as a universal password. Within a span of 2 hours, I managed to access her personal email and uncovered correspondence with a Boston-based law firm, where she served as an executor of an estate. The deceased, Margaret Hartley, my mother, had passed away 16 months ago, leaving me bereft. She was always secretive about her finances, allowing her lawyer to manage everything. He informed me that her estate amounted to approximately $800,000, being distributed to a collection of charities, which surprised but did not raise suspicions. However, the emails revealed a different story. It wasn't intended for charities at all. Caroline had fostered a relationship with my mother's lawyer, Gerald Hutchins, years ago, which I initially found charming as she showed interest in my mom's legal matters as she aged. But now the pieces fell into place. She was positioning herself. When my mother updated her will 3 years prior to her demise, Caroline was present. My wife successfully persuaded my mother that I had sufficient financial resources and thus didn't require an inheritance. but instead suggested it could be used for beneficial purposes. She subsequently appointed herself as the executor with full discretion over distribution. Charities each received $10,000. Caroline got the rest, while Gerald Hutchins was awarded $50,000 for his assistance. At 3 in the morning, I found myself in my home office, staring at email proof of my wife embezzling my inheritance, leaving me feeling a sense of cold and clarity. However, this did not clarify Gavin's role or her mention of his inheritance. 2 weeks later, after installing security cameras throughout our house for enhanced security, I discovered the truth. All high-definition motion activated, cleverly concealed within air vents and picture frames, these cameras provided valuable insights. "Your brother's an idiot," Gavin said, lounging in my bed at 2 in the afternoon as captured on footage from our bedroom. Caroline chuckled from the bathroom. "How oblivious can he be?" Owen perceives our household as a harmonious unit, blissfully unaware of the truth. As for families, Gavin's tone was audible. "When will we reveal the truth to him about that?" It would shatter him quicker than the affair. Caroline responded, "Not yet." She continued, "We adhere to our plan. Once the insurance policy matures and we have control over all assets, we can bring it all crashing down, disclose everything, inform him that his best friend is actually his half-brother, tell him about his mother's affair with my father, expose every lie in those family dinners for 6 years. I observed this video during my lunch break in my car. 3 times I rewound it to ensure accuracy. Gavin was my half-brother. My mother had an affair with Gavin's father. This revelation rippled through my mind. Gavin Mercer, a stranger to me, for I had never met his father, who he claimed died young. Now I pondered the timing. Gavin was 34 and I 38. The math fit if my mother's affair occurred during her marriage to my father. Proof was required. I journeyed to the Public Records Office and petitioned for birth certificates. Gavin Alexander Mercer, born on June 15th. Father Thomas Mercer. Mother Diane Mercer. Thomas Mercer had died when Gavin was 7 according to his obituary. He never remarried. Yet an intriguing detail in the obituary arrested my attention. Thomas' survivors were his son Gavin and his dear friend Margaret Hartley, who offered support during his final illness. My mother, I sought Thomas Mercer's death certificate. Place of death, pancreatic cancer. Place of death, Hartford Hospital. Spouse at the time of decease, Diane Patterson, née Mercer. I located her after 3 days. She had remarried and relocated to North Carolina. Upon contacting her, I introduced myself as a researcher seeking information for a medical study on pancreatic cancer involving Thomas Mercer's life history. She informed me that he was an honorable man. Their divorce occurred when their son Gavin was 5 due to Thomas' devotion to another woman named Margaret, whom she acknowledged was his true partner. Margaret tended to him till his demise. That was what I inquired about, my voice unwavering despite my rapid heartbeat. Margaret Hartley, I had encountered her on a few occasions, a charming lady she was. She couldn't abandon her spouse. He held influence within the community, yet Margaret and Thomas shared an ardent bond. Following his death, she aided Gavin financially, covering his college costs. I believe she harbored remorse that their clandestine relationship necessitated secrecy. Thus, my mother had engaged in a decade-long affair with Thomas Mercer, sponsored Gavin's education, and inexplicably, Gavin and Caroline uncovered this link and opted to exploit it. Nevertheless, I required conclusive evidence, so I arranged for a DNA test via a private laboratory, stating my research focused on genetic health issues within the family, needing to compare my DNA with potential half-siblings. They inquired about procuring his sample. "He visits my house weekly," I replied, "and he consumes beer from bottles. I'll save one." Lab technician who contacted me sounded competent yet uncomfortable. "Mr. Hartley, I'm demonstrating a 24.7% DNA match between the samples, which aligns with that of a half-sibling relationship. You share approximately 1750 centimorgans across 34 segments. The odds of this being an accidental match are less than 0.01%. Hence, he is my half-brother. Genetically speaking, yes, you trace back to the same biological parent." I expressed gratitude and ended the call, then began strategizing. I had options: immediately confront them, file for divorce, report insurance fraud, reveal everything, but that wasn't fitting for their actions. They had painstakingly built this intricate deception over years. They had stolen my mother's inheritance, turned my sorrow into an opportunity, made my home a playground. They deserved drama. Thanksgiving was 6 weeks away. Our family, Caroline's parents, my aunt, Caroline's sister, always convened at our place. Gavin was always there. I spent those holidays with them. After 6 weeks of preparation, I assembled all the evidence. security camera footage, financial documents, email correspondence with Gerald Hutchins, DNA test results, birth certificates, and death records, which I structured into a time-stamped, cross-referenced presentation file. Subsequently, I consulted with an attorney outside our family's legal representation, as I doubted Caroline hadn't influenced him too. I then traveled to New York City for a consultation at a firm specializing in fraud and estate litigation, where Margaret Chan expressed her surprise upon reviewing my evidence, stating, "This is intricate. The insurance fraud is criminal. The misappropriation of my inheritance through executor manipulation is civil fraud with potential criminal aspects, and their intentions remain unclear. However, I informed her that I suspected they intended to assassinate me. Or present it as an unfortunate incident. The policy will ripen in 4 months." Margaret Chan glanced at me through her glasses. "Mr. Hartley, given your situation, I don't think they'll act prematurely before the policy matures." I leaned closer. "I wish to finalize divorce papers on Thanksgiving Day, have law enforcement prepared, freeze all assets." She gave a chilling smile. "I want them to fully comprehend their predicament before they entertain thoughts of escape." She continued, "I can assist with that. Thirdly, I recorded and stored everything securely in a cloud account, accessible by my lawyer, aunt, and a trusted work colleague. In case of any untoward incident, they'd know where to find the evidence. Fourthly, I maintained the facade they demanded, being a devoted spouse, reliable friend, and unaware sibling. During our weekly dinners, I returned Gavin's smile. Every morning, I'd kiss Caroline farewell, discuss Thanksgiving menu ideas with eagerness, maintain a composed, focused, and patient demeanor. Engineers realize that optimal solutions necessitate perfect timing, and thus, Thanksgiving Day arrived crisp and sunny. Since early morning, Caroline had been busy in the kitchen. Gavin showed up at noon, bearing wine and his characteristic easy grin, once thought to be sincere. "Brother," he said, patting me on the shoulder. Happy Thanksgiving, Gavin." I accepted the wine, responding, "I'm glad you made it." By 3 o'clock, everyone had gathered. Caroline's family, including her parents Gerald and Patricia, sister Amanda, and her husband Kyle. At dinner with 12 of us gathered around, my Aunt Dorothy, my mother's sister, who had driven up from Virginia, we ate, laughed, and expressed gratitude. Caroline was thankful for her family, Gavin thanked his chosen brother, and I showed appreciation for truth. When it was past dessert at 7, I stood up. "I want to express my thanks to everyone here," I said. "Before we conclude, I have something to share, a family announcement." Caroline looked curiously at me while Gavin checked his phone. I retrieved my laptop and connected it to our TV. "Recently, I've been exploring our family history, and I found some intriguing facts about our family tree," I explained as the first image popped up on the screen, a family tree diagram with my mother at the top, connecting to my father and then to Thomas Mercer and finally to Gavin. The room became quiet. "Yes, that's correct," I confirmed calmly. "Gavin isn't just my closest confidant. He's also my half-brother, as our mothers carried on an affair for over a decade. Following Thomas' demise, she provided him with financial aid, even covering his college expenses. As Gavin paled and Caroline remained still, I added, "That's fascinating enough, but what's even more intriguing is what transpired after my mother passed away." The subsequent slide displayed email exchanges between Caroline and Gerald Hutchins. "She attempted to manipulate my inheritance. The purchase records of the condo revealed that Caroline had been embezzling from me for years," I stated. "With the assistance of our family attorney, she persuaded my mother to bequeath her estate to charity and then kept it for herself, amassing a secret condo in Stamford with $800,000. Gerald Hutchins rose in response. "This is libel, it's proof," I said, "which I have already submitted to the Connecticut State Bar Association and the district attorney's office." Shortly, Patricia found herself facing her daughter Amanda, who gaped in shock. "Hold on," I intervened. "There's more." The video unfurled, showcasing Caroline and Gavin within our bedroom discussing the insurance policy, making fun of me, planning to inform him after securing the assets. Caroline finally found her voice. "Let me clarify. What exactly are you clarifying? That you've been involved with my half-brother for years, that you've been plotting to kill me for insurance money. Every family gathering for 6 years has been a facade, while you two plan to bring me down." I advanced to the next slide, displaying DNA test results. Confirmed by 2 independent labs, Gavin was my half-brother. This meant that each time he called me brother, he knew it was true. He recognized he was my mother's son, and yet still chose to sleep with my wife and swipe my inheritance. Gavin rose from his seat. "I hold the authority. You two lack it." My voice remained composed. I am entitled to ascertain my wife's fidelity. I am entitled to claim my mother's inheritance. I am entitled to avoid deception and conspiracy within my own household. Turning to face them directly, I addressed Caroline. You'll receive divorce documents tomorrow morning. Your lawyer should be aware that I've frozen all joint assets, logged every fraudulent deal, and submitted criminal charges for insurance fraud and embezzlement through executor manipulation. The condo in Stamford will be confiscated as crime proceeds. Addressing Gavin, I stated, you'll find the estate seized as well. 1. Your position at Mercer Thorne has been terminated, as I discussed with HR yesterday regarding violations of our fraternization policy and the interest they showed in the evidence I presented. Additionally, any claim to part of my mother's estate is legally uncertain due to her lack of public acknowledgement of you. My lawyer informs me you may try, but it will make the discovery process in the ensuing criminal case intriguing. In light of this information, both of you should be aware that I have recorded threats against my life. The insurance policy has been terminated, a police report has been filed, and if any misfortune befalls me at all, there are numerous individuals with comprehensive evidence files ready to ensure your imprisonment for the remainder of your lives. The Thanksgiving holiday has concluded. Caroline was sobbing in the room. I closed my laptop. 2. Your Mercer Thorne employment termination occurred due to violations of our fraternization policy, which I addressed with HR yesterday and provided evidence for. Additionally, any claim to my mother's estate is legally questionable because she never publicly recognized you. My attorney suggested you pursue it, but it will make the legal proceedings in the impending criminal case more captivating. You should be aware that I have recorded threats against my life, terminated the insurance policy, filed a police report, and prepared numerous individuals with complete evidence files to ensure your imprisonment if any harm comes to me at all. The Thanksgiving celebration has concluded. In the room, Caroline could only cry. I closed my laptop. Everyone but Caroline and Gavin can linger for coffee. The two of you must depart from my residence. A moment passed without reaction, then Gavin swiftly donned his coat and exited wordlessly. Caroline hesitantly rose, her face streaked with mascara. Well, she began. No, I replied. Depart, she obeyed. My Aunt Dorothy, the remaining family members sat in awestruck silence until she erupted into hearty, genuine laughter. Your mother would be pleased, she remarked. That was the most restrained display of anger I've ever observed. Margaret always maintained you carried on her forbearance and sense of fairness. I asked, shall I brew coffee for anyone? The aftermath has left me pondering its implications. 3 days following Thanksgiving, Caroline was apprehended. The district attorney indicted her for insurance fraud, theft through manipulation of trustee roles, and conspiracy to commit murder. Harold Hutchins has been disbarred, faces criminal charges, and is currently on bail living with his parents, awaiting a trial date next spring. Gavin has left Connecticut and is now believed to reside in Oregon without any criminal charges. His reputation, however, has been tarnished due to his affair with his half-brother's wife and alleged involvement in plotting her husband's murder. The remnants of my mother's estate that can't be recovered from charitable donations will instead be given to selected charities by me. I have established a scholarship fund under my mother's name for engineering students. My divorce is progressing without complications. Caroline attempted to accuse me of emotional abuse by trapping her with surveillance. Her lawyer soon abandoned this tactic when mine demonstrated that recording crimes in one's own home is not considered entrapment. As for myself, the allegations against me have not been substantiated. Moved to a smaller dwelling in Hartford, relinquished the old house, tainted with numerous unwanted recollections. Began therapy, as apparently unveiling one's entire life as a carefully constructed deceit necessitates some time to digest. However, I'm thriving. In fact, I've gleaned something of significance from this ordeal. Patience is not synonymous with feebleness, vigilance is not equated with inactivity, and at times, the most effective retribution isn't a fiery outburst, but a calculated, systematic dismantling of falsehoods that surround you. They deemed me a brother, yet underestimated my trusting nature to perceive the danger lurking behind. They erred. I observed, I documented, and when opportune, I displayed exactly what occurs when an analytical mind confronts treachery as a problem that demands resolution. The solution was impeccable, the timing, flawless, the results, precisely as they deserved, and I'm thankful for this truth.